This MLB season, FanDuel's Dinger Tuesday is back. And this year, all customers get a profit boost to bet home runs every week. So gear up to go yard all season long on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. 21 plus and present in select states. Opt-in required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The Portland Trail Blazers have ended their 7-year relationship with Anfernee Simons. We have breaking news here on the Blazer Focus podcast. I'm Fentress of the Oregonian. I'm joined by Craig Birnbach, who's sitting outside of his house in the dark. He looks all fuzzy. He's got, but it's okay because I woke him. I didn't wake him up, but I interrupted his bedtime story with his little boy to get on this podcast so we could talk about the Blazers trading Anfernee Simons to Boston for guard Jrue Holiday. So earlier, real quick, I gotta tell everybody, earlier, Craig and I did a podcast previewing Wednesday's draft where the Blazers had the number 11 pick. We did like an hour podcast. Tonight, I'm sitting on my couch playing MLB The Show with my son. I'm pitching a gem, by the way. We're doing our Cup season. And all of a sudden, my phone blows up. and I'm running to my computer to post this. I confirmed the report from Shams Charania, ESPN, who broke the news, confirmed it with a couple Blazer sources that, yes, Anfernee Simons is going to Boston for Jrue Holiday. I told Craig we got to get on the podcast and update this bad boy because this is huge news. And we talked in the podcast about potentially trading Ant or how you're going to deal with Ant and Scoot, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now that's done. Jrue Holiday is coming. But here's the thing, Craig. 3 years left on his deal worth about $112 million, whereas Ant has 1 year, $27 million. He does play one or the two, but he's 35 years old. And I know you're perplexed by this, so I'm going to let you go. And then I'll correct all your misgivings. Just kidding.
Well,
go ahead.
First of all, how you doing, man? You all right? Your boy got traded.
Man, you know what?
You all right?
Okay. So a friend of mine texted me and was like, "Wow, how are you? Are you okay?" Because
man.
I made it clear. I love me some Anfernee Simons. So yeah, you know, it sucks because I do like the kid a lot. But I'm happy for him, actually, because he's going to a winner, man.
Yes,
he's going to a winner. We'll talk more about this later. I think he's going to a way better situation for him. But give me your take first, because I know you're a little perplexed by this whole thing from the Blazers' perspective.
Yeah, and also we haven't mentioned the fact that the Blazers are also the ones sending picks, 2 second-round picks. Like, this isn't what
who cares about those?
I know, but that's a little shocking. Like, wait a minute. So we're sending the younger player who clearly is a lot younger.
You're getting the better player.
Well, are you? And that's the question. Sure, you're getting the better player today in a way, but he's not he scored 11 points a game. I understand he was well beyond, he wasn't a first or a second or a third option. Look, to me, it's perplexing because he's 35.
That's why.
He's on the back end of his career. And they're trading a 25-year-old who's got 1 year left on the
26.
Contract. He's 26.
Go ahead.
1 year left on that contract to get a guy that's got 3 years left on the contract. We're talking about $35 million, $37 million.
I know.
To do what? To start over Scoot? To start over Scoot?
Well,
I mean, he's not. I mean, he has to.
Or Shaden. Or Shaden.
Oh, that's a weird.
He can play the two.
Is that where? But that's not where he's best. I mean, he's a great defender, but he's 35. You know what I mean? Like, he's still 35. He's not known for his shooting or his scoring. So Scoot can't shoot still. I'm sorry. Like, that's not a good 1-2, in my opinion. Like, Jrue Holiday is best when he is playing defense, playmaking. He's not best when he is playing the two. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And you're going to sit shading? Nuts. Like that doesn't make any sense either.
You're not shading. You're not sitting shading. There's 96 minutes available at the 2 guard spots, and he can get some playing time at small forward. Shading's going to play 30 minutes at least. Okay. Keep going. I want you to keep going.
You had that with.
Are you done?
You had that with Simons. Are you that much better with Jrue Holiday over Simons on your team? Are you
the Portland Trail Blazers with Holiday win a series over the Blazers with Ant? I 100% believe that they win that series
in Game 7.
Okay, so first of all, maybe. Okay, so first of all, let me just let you know right now that I'm about to go full Fentress politician, because this is one of those things where I could jump on either side and argue it till death. That is, I can argue your side and I can argue the other side, because I find this to be absolutely fascinating. Let me be clear. Because everything you said is true. Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm just saying, like, look, I'm trying to figure it out. Okay. Like, I'm not, what I'm saying? I'm just saying they're like, that seems weird. It's an odd trade to go get a 35-year-old with 3 years left on his deal we're looking at a 37-year-old player that you're owed $37 million. And so my guess is the best thing he could do for you then is work in another trade, because you need money to get money the way it works.
Right. So it's possible they could. I mean, look, Holiday was a Blazer for like 24 hours in 2023. Right? He was in the Dame trade to Milwaukee. They had him. Then they moved him to Boston for Robert Williams, Brogdon, and some picks. And now they got him back. Could they reroute him again? Yes, they could. I mean, they very well could reroute him. That could happen. I'm being told right now that he's staying and that they need veteran guys, because one of the things we talked about before and on the rest of the body of the podcast, when we talked about how we think they should trade the draft pick, is that they need to win, man. Cronin and Billups need to win because a new owner is coming. And I don't care what their contracts say. They got extensions. A new owner is going to look at this team and go, if they don't make the playoffs next year, at least the postseason, you've missed the postseason 4 straight years. You've had 4 straight drafts. You've had lottery picks. You've had off seasons, and you trade the best player in franchise history, arguably. And this is what you have. I think they have to win now. And Jrue Holiday helps you win, period, as long as he's healthy. And he's been pretty healthy. Now, you mentioned his 11 points per game. Let's be fair, though, because he averaged in Milwaukee 21, 19, 17, 18 in New Orleans and Milwaukee, and his last year in Milwaukee, 19, shooting 48% and 38 from 3-point range. Then he goes to Boston, where he's not the focal point of the offense. He's just not. You got 2 guys averaging 25 plus in Tatum and Brown. Then you still have he shoots a ton of threes with White, and Pritchard comes off the bench, and you got Porzingis. Like, he just wasn't in a role where he had to score a lot, but the scoring ability is there. But what he gives you is a way better defense than Ant, and Ant's not a true point guard. He struggled with that. Jrue Holiday is going to be a better point, either as a starter or the backup to Scoot, and then maybe starting at the 2. And plus, Ant was struggling with the things they want to do. And for me, this is a better fit for Ant in Boston, because that team just likes to shoot threes. They led the NBA with 48 threes per game. So they're going to move the ball. They're going to come inside to whomever. And got to wait for Tatum to come back, right? And they're going to kick it out to shooters. And Ant's going to thrive in that system. Whereas Holiday is going to give you an adult in the backcourt. I guarantee you Chauncey Billups right now is elated because he has a grown man at a guy who can play both guard positions and who will lock opposing defenders down, which Ant can't do and which Scoot is learning to do. So I see Holiday coming in and starting at one of the 2 guard positions. He might start at the 2 with Scoot. And if he does, Shaedon can come off the bench and bring instant offense and still play 30 minutes a game, playing a little bit at the 3 as well. Or he'll start at the 1 with Shaedon at the 2. Or maybe it could be Tamani at the 2, Denny and Jeremy if they keep Jeremy, right? Now that unit, imagine Holiday, Tumani, Denny, Grant, and Klingon. They're giving up like 8 points a quarter. I'm exaggerating, but that's going to be one of the best defensive lineups in the league. Scoring might be a little iffy here and there, but still, it gives you the defense that they want. So that's what I think they're thinking. But everything you said about the 35-year-old situation, that's a concern. And all that money, that's a concern. But again, I do not believe the future matters right now. I think they're all in and trying to win next year. And I think they're going to make some more moves. As a matter of fact, I've been told more moves are probably coming because they're trying to make this roster as good as possible to put their best foot forward next season so they can win and maybe keep their jobs. Period.
I mean, I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. I'm just saying I don't know what that means for the future of this team, like in the sense that.
But the futures doesn't matter.
You're telling me that no, but it does matter if I want to actually eventually be a truly competitive team. There's a chance in this scenario that you have Jeremy Grant and Jrue Holiday coming off the bench making $70 million.
There's no way Holiday's coming off the bench.
Okay.
There's no way. He's better than both Scoot and Shaden, and it's not close. I guarantee you right now, Holiday's starting. Chauncey, listen to me. Chauncey,
agree.
Chauncey came to Portland to coach adults. He's been forced to coach a nursery school, and that's not what he signed up for. And now he gets an adult guard who can play defense, unlike Ant, and who's won 2 championships. He's starting 100%.
Well, I agree. You don't make this trade and not start him. So that means that you're right. Look, if they turn around and trade Shaden somewhere or Scoot somewhere, makes
they don't
a little
need to.
Bit more sense.
They can come off the. What is with why are people so against guys coming off the bench?
If you do that, you are saying that in year 4, you don't see Shaden Sharp. Really. If you want to,
it could be Scoot. Listen. Right. Sharp's better
Either
than
way,
Scoot.
one of those guys is playing less.
Are they playing less?
Yes.
They were just in a 3-guard situation. They're still in a 3-guard situation. I don't think they're playing less. I think, again, 96 minutes available. That's 32 per guy. It could very easily be that way. Or it could be 33, and Shaden picks up a few minutes at small forward. I mean, there's so many different ways. And plus, guys get injured. There's so many different ways you can work this. The minutes are going to be there for everyone to get a chance to play. And whoever's playing the best is going to get to play. But at least now you have a grown-ass man in the backcourt. No offense to my boy Ant, but he was still pretty young. That is
pretty offensive, I got to tell you.
But Ant's 26. This guy's 35. Ant has not proven to be, the guy. He is not all-star. Jrue Holiday is a 2-time all-star, 6-time all-defensive player. So, yeah, in terms of NBA years and productivity and accomplishments, Jrue Holiday's a grown-ass man, and Ant's still, a guy in his mid-20s trying to figure out his game. So, I stand by that. You disagree?
What I'll say is the fact that last year at this time you were arguing that you thought Ant could start and average almost 25 a game, and now
he can. But it's not happening in this system. It's not happening in this world with how. Okay, so Ant talked about it himself. He struggled with the up-tempo flying up and down the court and then trying to be a distributor as well as a scorer. He struggled with that. That's why he had so many games where he scored 0 in the first quarter because he was trying to be a facilitator, which isn't really him. And they were trying to get him to run and gun and score. So that didn't fit him. So he's going to a place where they run more half-court sets. And I guarantee you he's going to have a way better, more efficient season in that system. But Scoot can run. Shaden can run. They believe Holiday could run enough. And so it's a better fit, and it helps you. It's going to help you win more games, I believe. And it's going to help. And I just think it's one of those situations where you're not just trading the guys, but you're trading them to better fits.
Look, I've been saying you had to trade Ant. I just didn't think you were going to trade Ant for a 35-year-old,
right?
With 3 years left on his contract at $35 million plus. I've been saying there's no fit here. To me, what you've done is you basically made it tougher for Scoot or Shaden to say this is my team.
It's not their team. None of them have done a damn thing. Who cares? Dude, who cares? That ship has sailed, bro.
Obviously.
Either you claim it or you don't. This team has been trash for 4 years, period, until the second half of this past year. So you either going to, and both Scoot and Shaden got benched. And so it's your boy Denny. So we've turned the corner now with this franchise where they're trying to win now.
Pull my boy into this in the negative here.
I'm just saying. Chauncey has shown that if you are not pulling your weight, you can go sit on the bench next to him and come off the bench. And so Shaden, the future, maybe he is. Scoot, maybe he is. But as I said, Cronin and Billups' futures are in doubt 100%. So all this talk about the cap space in 3 years, who cares? They may not even be here for that unless they make the playoffs, unless they win. If they win, they're 44-38. Then maybe the new owner says, hey, we have something working here. If they're 34-48, they're all out. I almost guarantee it. Why would you keep them? It doesn't make any sense.
Look, we just had the podcast. I agreed. I'm the one that previously said you should trade Ant, and you're like, why? He's the best of the three. And I admit they did trade Ant, who is the best of the three, for a player that is better than him. But he's 35 and he's owed $35 million plus for 3 years. I see what you're saying. It's just not it's not to me. It is exactly what you said. This is proof of what we've been saying as soon as the ownership deal came through, that there's no playing for 2 years anymore. It's playing now, and why not? So I get it. I'm just saying it is rare. It is rare for a team where the Blazers were last year to think this is the time to trade a 26-year-old with a year left on his contract who makes much less money for a 35-year-old with 3 years left that makes $35 million plus. That's all I'm saying. Like, this is not what happens.
I agree. But this isn't a normal situation.
It is not a normal situation.
And we can blame Jody and Burt Cold. It's ultimately their fault. They're the ones, and it's Cronin's fault too for trading Dame, not going that route. They went young, and now the pressure's on. They better start winning. Jody and Burt put pressure on them to win in the second half. That's why they threw the Cooper Flag sweepstakes out the window and changed some things, and boom, they won 10 of 11, and they're in the play-in hunt. And that got Cronin and Billups extensions, but now a new owner's coming through. Like, it's a wacky world in Rip City. There's no doubt about it. But I'm telling you, the idea of worrying about 26, 27, 27, 28, 20, and cap space and blah, 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 irrelevant. These guys got to win now or they're gone.
It also shows what they thought they could get for him. They had to trade out that. Initially when I read the Shams tweet where it said, my brain automatically thought the Blazers were getting the 2 second-round picks. You know what I mean? Like, that was just it's just truth, because you're like, whoa, you don't usually send a younger guy who averages more points, who just 2 years ago you thought was the future of your franchise. For the older dude who's on the edge that should be hunting for championships. Right. And I got to be honest, Jrue Holiday can't be thrilled. I mean,
that's another part of this, because what if Holiday and his agent go to the Blazers and are like, nah, man, this is garbage. We don't want to be there.
They already did it once.
Yeah.
I mean, when he got traded for Dame, that made more sense then to be on this team in a way.
No, because they're in full development mode, and
I understand, but like
games.
he had more years. Like, if he would have come for a little bit, and you could have traded him out and gotten something, and you say, "Oh, we don't think Simons is a true point guard, so he's gonna be the mentor for Scoot." Like, but either way, he didn't want to come 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So why would he want to come now?
None of the Boston trio wanted to come. They were all bent. You could tell at training camp they were not happy. Brogdon said all the right things. That guy should be a politician, but you just knew he was blowing smoke. But yeah, so I wonder. I mean, we'll see what Holiday's attitude is. His attitude could be like, "This sucks. I don't want to be here. This is garbage. Send me somewhere else. Send me to Miami."
I mean, you hope there were conversations ahead of time on that. Because if it wasn't, then that's a really dumb trade. Because if what you're saying is true, which it has to be, unless they flip him tomorrow, but that is not what people like that's not what your sources are telling you. That's not what
people are saying, right?
Right. So
the plan is to keep him. So
they sure as crap should have made sure.
And maybe they did. And maybe Holiday has two championships and he's cool. He has two championships and he's cool. Who knows? And we'll find out.
And they said to him, "We're trading you, so you could go and you're going to play." and maybe there's not positions where he's going to, there's not a ton of places he could probably go, contend, and start, right? So there's that. It's weird. That's all. I mean, it is not, and it does show that, wow, there might be a reason why Ant didn't get traded before, that there just wasn't the market for him that people thought. I mean, people thought there'd be multiple firsts for him. I've always said that I wasn't sure, because of the lack of, in most places, my feeling was he's the Jamal Crawford. Like, he's the guy that you get for instant offense. He's the modern day Vinny Johnson microwave. And that's not usually where you want to spend $30+ million, which is what it's going to take in his next contract.
I know,
what I mean? Like, so the Celtics
are
getting him for 1 year too. I mean, there is that, they have to re-sign him.
Right. But I don't think they wanted firsts. I mean, we don't know. Someone might have offered a first or two for Ant. I mean, that easily could have happened, but what does that do for you?
Well, not for where they are right now. It doesn't. It does if you're the new owners would sure as heck might want that rather than Jrue Holiday.
Well, then they can come in and clean house and they might trade Holiday. I mean, who knows? But to me, I just I believe this,
and there's 37 left on the contract. Like, it's just weird. Like, do you really want to tell me? Do you really think that $70 million on this roster to 31/32-year-old Jeremy Grant and 35-year-old Jrue Holiday is where you want to be spending $70 million? Like,
in year one of what I'm gonna call it year one, because to me this is a new world order for them. It doesn't matter.
Look, I hear you, but it also to me is proof that your previous plan did not work.
What previous plan? The previous plan was to rebuild and start over,
right? And
you would develop, and right. It was working. They progressed.
Oh, see, I would say
they won 21 games, then they won 36 games. That's progression.
But I would say that three top 10 lottery picks, and you needed your feeling is you don't you still want the 35-year-old.
Oh my God.
No. In a perfect world, Scoot Henderson would not need another point guard. In a perfect world, going into year 3, Scoot Henderson would be on an all-star level or close.
I mean, how many guys are all-star level year 3 anywhere?
Okay,
like, there aren't that many.
But Amen Thompson is in year 3.
He's not an all-star.
He was picked 4th. But look where he's at. You're not going to get a 35-year-old to play more minutes in front of him.
I hear you. Okay, but listen, they were progressing. So to say it didn't work is unfair because they improved by 15 wins. Okay, and they were 23-18 in the second half. The problem is that if Jody and Bert still were owning the team and weren't selling it, I don't think they make this trade.
Agreed.
Okay, I don't think they make this deal because we know how much. Cronin and I had a conversation before last season on the phone, and we talked about Denny's contract. And I made a joke. I mean, I said, the night you traded for him, did you you rock yourself to sleep at night with the contract because you loved it so much? And he laughed because it was, I was making a joke. But yes, he loved that contract. So, if you love Denny's contract at 24-25, making $12 million a year, whatever it is, he does not like this contract, especially with Grant's contract. This is a bad contract to take on. But again, it ain't about that anymore. It's about trying to get the W's, and this gives them a chance, I believe. We'll see. Anyway.
Yeah, look, what you're saying makes sense. It doesn't mean that as a fan, or as a person that's looking at it in my position objectively, that I think it's great for the franchise.
Right, because you're thinking about the Blazers and the pinwheel and the future, not what's going on politically and people trying to save their job. Yeah, 100%. I totally get it. That's why I say I can argue both sides. But at the same time, it just is what it is. It's where they are. And they're the next year is going to be wild. 1, are they going to pull off winning? And 2, when are they going to sell the team? And 3, what is that owner going to do?
Yep.
Because that owner could come in, hire a new GM, he hires a new coach, and they just tear everything down. They're just like, okay, we're keeping 3 people. Everyone's got to go. that could easily happen, right? And then you're starting over. So we'll see. All right. Anything else?
Wow. That's all I'll say. Honestly, I will just say that I'm not there where I figured it out. I want to be clear. Like, you kind of put me in the argument because that's what we do, right? Like, say what you think. I don't know. Like, I'm not sitting here saying like this is the worst trade in the world. I'm just saying, wow, that's weird. Like, I'm trying to grab my head around, like, you're telling me you just traded for Jrue Holiday on this team? Like, that's a final piece move. You know what I mean? That's
wild.
what the Celtics did 2 years ago to win a title.
Yeah.
And you're telling me you went and got a 35-year-old and you traded Ant for a 35-year-old?
I know.
Huh. Like, you know,
with a bunch of money in you. It's wild, but it's just a different set of circumstances that Joe Cronin is up against right now. It just is. And to me, this is a good move for him, I think.
Here's what I will say is that this is a really good day for Anfernee Simons.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, good for him.
Yeah.
He just went where he's going to have a chance to be on a team that might not compete for a championship this year based on injuries. But he's going to have a chance on a team that still believes they can. There's a space open for what he needs because of Tatum's injury, and his contract. He needs to sign a new contract. Like, they just gave him a runway of a place to succeed, make a crap ton of money, but also prove that he can be a significant player on a winning team, because we haven't seen that.
Right.
You know, we've seen him score a lot of points in games that didn't matter before on a good team. And then we've seen him score a lot of points on a bad team and then not play. Last year was a terrible year for him. Let's just be honest. That's a bad year. And I agree and have agreed the whole time that it's because he doesn't know what he's supposed to do.
100%.
And he's a good teammate, and they're asking him to play a position that doesn't fit him, and then say, oh, no, we want Ant to be Ant. No, you didn't, because you drafted Scoot Henderson. Like, you don't want me to be me, because if you wanted me to be me, I wouldn't have this number 3 overall pick here.
Yeah.
Or you want to trade, or you want to draft a Shaden. So good for him. Wow. We'll get our heads around it. We'll see what they say and where their vision is. And as you said, this can't be the last move. It just can't with what's on this roster. So
other stuff's going to go down. All right.
Wow.
Well, thanks for hopping on. We'll have more chances to talk about this. Now we're going to shift. The podcast is going to shift to our regular podcast that we did previewing the draft. So ignore all the talk in there about what to do with Ant, because it's been done.
I answered it.
But a lot of info in there about what we think about the draft, whom they could pick. We do think they should trade that pick, and that could happen. They could attach that pick to Ayton and boom, bring in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Who knows? Who knows how old they'll go? You never know. You never know anymore. All right, thanks for listening to this breaking news edition of the Blazer Focus Podcast. And stay tuned for the rest of the Blazer Focus Podcast. What will the Trailblazers do with the number 11 pick during Wednesday's NBA draft? And does it matter, because it looks like the Thunder are about to rattle off about 5 straight titles? All that and more here on the Blazer Focus Podcast. I'm Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian and OregonLive, and I'm joined by Craig Birnbach. Craig, the NBA Finals are over. The Thunder winning 7. Very good series, by the way. I'm glad to see the ratings improved later in the series after being a little light early on. How you been, man? Did you enjoy the finals?
I did. I mean, I thought Game 7 was a bit of a bummer.
Right.
Just because, first of all, watching another Achilles. It's just
Are you stretching your Achilles every day? I'm stretching my Achilles. When I get up to go get like a glass of water in the kitchen, I'm stretching my Achilles before I get up.
Because it's funny, because I've always said, now that I'm getting older, like that's going to be, it's going to happen to me. Because every once in a while you feel it, like, and at our age, and we're similar ages. You're older than me by enough. And I feel it. I'm like, oh no, because my knees have been good, but God, it's just to see him go down. You're like, are you kidding me? Like another one?
Another one.
And like the fact that these are all like Durant, Dame, and now Halliburton all had calf strains and then had the Achilles.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, once you're like, oh, unrelated. Like, what? This is too much. Not a doctor, but it just seems too coincidental that, oh, they're dealing with a calf strain and then their Achilles gets completely blown. They have to be related, but that put a damper on it for me, even though it'll, the fact that the Celtics lost their best player and the Pacers lost their best player. As a Knicks fan, I'm not going to lie to anybody and say, well, that helps the path, but you just hate to see it. And it felt like the whole rest of that game was under this cloud. Yeah.
And they were winning or down one at the time, right? Because I think they were up one at halftime.
They were up one at the half. They still held on, but you knew. You're like, there's no.
Oh, yeah. Once he went down, it was over.
It's like, oh, that's a bummer. And then it wasn't a competitive. The third quarter was fun to watch if you weren't rooting for the Pacers or rooting against the Thunder. That was a great quarter to see the crowd, really get into it as they just do what the Thunder do, which, we talk about the offense in the NBA. I was just thinking this while watching this, like this league's all about threes and dunks. And you're like, well, and defense, because that's what just won this championship right here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not talking about the Pacers. I mean, I'm not talking about the Pistons, the bad boy era, or, the Knicks, Pistons defensive era, because obviously there was a lot of offense on this team too, but they won because their defense just said, oh, let's downshift this sucker. And how about we get them to turn the ball over on every possession for about 5 minutes and we'll probably win. And when you look at their defensive performance for the year, right? I mean, they're not the best offense in the NBA, but their defense was the best. And so they won it.
How sustainable is this? I mean, let's say barring injury, let's say they stay healthy, given how young they are, the nucleus that they have, the picks that they have coming up. And I think the picks, to me, the draft picks are not going to mean as much because I don't know how many players are going to hit on who are going to be that impactful, but it's the trade power. Like you can go out and use those picks and package them and go out and get a star player to add to the mix. Not
just the star player, that young player that hasn't signed that big package yet, that someone might not be able to extend. And you're like, well, we need to rank great players year by year and keep our big three.
Right.
So much power there. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So no. So, I mean, what are we looking at here? Is this a one-off? They might be winning another one in a few years, or is this a team that could be the first team to three-peat at some point since the Lakers and Kobe and Shaq? Or, what are we looking at? Because this is kind of frightening.
So I think the potential is there, but everything has to work. We just saw an Achilles go on a young star, right. Like in back-to-backs, on each side of the bracket, like they don't win without SGA, you just don't win without the MVP. So there's that. And I also just look back at what this franchise once was in Seattle and right past when they had that three and they were, on the cusp of a championship and you thought, well, how many are they going to win? And the answer was none, so things can go sour quickly. But yes, all the ingredients are there for them to Warriors it. You know what I mean? Like, cause that's kind of what I look at and how they did that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You mean, so they're going to add Durant?
Well, no, I'm just saying based on
what
you said, the pick, they won without Durant too, though. I'm just saying like,
I know they won one.
I know I brought up such a touchy subject with you.
I know.
But when you look at that, they had those three that that stayed there for all of them. And then, yes, of course, you rotated in other really good players at times and stars. And then there was the Durant thing. I'm just saying the potential is there for them. That was the last dynasty, and then you had the Spurs. So maybe you could say it's all there for them to spur it. That'd be better for you, right? That gives you 3 at a time, 2 first overall picks, and Ginobili and Parker. It is it's there for the taking. And maybe this coach is a good enough coach to do it. As far as, because to me, it's all about managing the personalities now.
Right.
I think, everyone talked about why it was so great that even with SGA as the MVP, there was so many guys on this team that stepped up and they weren't selfish. But that's what's hard to sustain. You know what I mean? Like to figure out your role and be okay with it. And it blows up teams in every sport.
Right. And to figure out the money. So for example, Chet, it's a club option next year for $13 million. And then after that, he's restricted. So they're going to have to pony up for him. Jason Williams, same thing. So, sorry, Jalen Williams. Sorry.
It's funny because they have 2 of them and you still made up another name.
I know.
It happens. It happens.
I'm thinking of Jason Williams from the Kings. And there's another
White
Jason
chocolate,
Williams
baby.
Yeah, white
chocolate. Or
chocolate.
Jason Williams from the Nets. Less positive story.
So, okay. Anyway, he's in the same position. He's got 2 club option next year as well. So those 2 guys are 35 million plus at least. So you're going to go from paying them next year combined 17 million to paying them a combined 70 to 80.
Well, and if Williams keeps going on the track that he's at, he's even more than that. And if Chet turns a corner next year and stays healthy, he's more than that. You know what I mean? These are potential all-stars that weren't all-stars yet. I mean, I think that what Jalen Williams did this year is just like, I went from, oh, he's nice to holy crap. You know what I mean? Like, oh, there's potential. I mean, that's an amazing pick. That's an amazing pick. To take a guy from a school 4th overall that people didn't know and be like, what the heck? And okay. Our bad. Like that. And Chet Holmgren still weighs 8 pounds and is doing what he's doing. And if he could stay healthy and get stronger, he's got potential to be, $50 million player. Yeah. Because you just don't, he's huge. He can shoot. He's defensively fantastic. He can move his feet. You know what I mean? So, yeah, they're going to run into problems, but that's the thing. Like, they could, with the amount of picks that they have that you said, they could lose somebody and replace it, or they could figure out how to have a big 3. You're allowed to have a big 3 in the current NBA. You can't have a big 4 anymore, right? That's where it ends, because now you're beyond the apron. But it feels like you could still figure out how to have the big 3, and then you just keep on bringing in that, the supporting cast with those picks, is my opinion. Or Sam Presti continues to show why he's great and picks guys with that fill the role, you know what I mean? And get there. Because that's kind of what didn't happen with the Warriors. They had some picks and they didn't get, Kuminga didn't hit, you know what I mean? Even when you look at guys that won titles on that team, they didn't hit. Wiggins didn't hit. You know what I mean? Like, good,
Wiggins
but not great.
Wiggins helped him win that title, that one of those titles.
Right, but he didn't become what we thought he might be.
Oh my God. Wiseman. That's the one that killed him.
Yeah,
the number 2 pick. Oh my God.
Didn't get it.
That's
didn't
so
hit.
bad. That hurts. But
and
they
didn't
recover to win a title after that, though. But still,
Harrison
that hurts.
Barnes, did what he needed to do, but didn't elevate, but they could. But yeah, I think all the materials are there. There's potential for, to win 3 or 3, win 2 out of the next 4 and then win 3 out of the next 6. But, that's, or they could just not, like, because that's what, did you think the
injuries is a thing?
Nuggets? Yeah. I mean, the Nuggets.
I didn't think the Nuggets were dynastic. I thought they were really good. And I didn't think the Warriors, the second time around when they won after the Nuggets, I didn't think that they were going to be dynastic, as another dynastic run for them as well. But I feel like this.
But the
team
Celtics,
is
you thought they had a chance, and now you thought this. Oh, come on, they were the favorite to get to the NBA Finals this year again, and they might have.
I thought they were going to win it this year, but I didn't see them as a team that I thought was going to rattle off a bunch because they're a little older and
they ran into the money ceiling.
Like Jrue Holiday's 34. Okay, I'm not saying they couldn't have won several, and I did pick them to win this year over the Thunder. I'm just saying, and your point is that look what happened. Tatum got hurt. So yeah, I'm with you on that part of it. But this Thunder team is a bunch of babies. Like, yes. They're kids. And I guess you got Caruso, and it's actually Shea's been in the league a little bit, but still, they're just so.
He's 25,
young. Right? They're just so young. But yeah, that's a good example.
But that's what happens when you do it.
Injuries kill you, right? There's nothing you can do about that. If
and
that
egos.
doesn't happen,
injuries and egos, man.
Right? So if that doesn't happen, this team's gonna win. Like I can't see how they don't win at least 2 more in the next 6-7 years, at least. And I do think there's other teams that are gonna continue to get better, like Minnesota. We'll see what happens with Luka and the Lakers. I mean, Dallas just got Cooper Flagg, Ken Kyrie, and Anthony Davis.
Well, look, you look at Orlando.
Minnesota,
Orlando's doing the same thing that OKC did.
Right, exactly. Yep. And then I still think the Knicks, I'm disappointed.
Like
I know you are, but they're going to change coaches. That better work, because if it does, I'm going to crack on them all year.
Yeah, and they should. I mean, like I just spent a few days in the Windy City, hanging out with my boys that are all Knicks fans, and of course they come to me like, "Why they fired?" I'm like, "Well, I don't think they should have." So then why'd they do it? I'm like, "Well, I also didn't think they should have fired Buck Showalter and hired Joe Torre, who was terrible, and he was the greatest coach in Yankee history." No, maybe not, but you know what I'm saying. Like, that's the thing. They didn't think he could win a title, and they might be right, and he hadn't done it. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much. The way the NBA works, when there's 5 dudes that play at a time, it's not like the NFL where you got 22 guys and special teams. You know what I mean? Like, where you have to that both means that it's harder and easier. It's harder because you need to get 22 really good players, not just right. But it's easier because other than the quarterback, guys could get hurt and you can still get there. In the NBA, you lose LeBron, you're done. Even now at 40, right. You lose Luka, you're done. You lose Steph, they were done. I mean, the Warriors had a chance, and then they didn't because of a hamstring. You know what I mean? Like, he could, like, not even something like an Achilles. Like, he's good today. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just, at the time you pull a hamstring, you're not going to win because you don't have, in the NBA now, with the way the salary cap is and the amount of money that the stars get, you don't have the guy being able to come off the bench and Jamal Crawford it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, to fill that role. And it also looked in what they got Jimmy Butler, and it changed them from they have no chance to they got a chance. Right. But that's the thing. Like, SGA goes out with a knee next year, they're not going to win it.
Facts.
And, you know what I mean? Like, he's got 2 ACLs and he got 2 Achilles, right? So, like, in the NBA, that's where you're at. Look, Chet Holmgren, like, broke his his hip. You know what I mean? Like, things happen. Right. So that's why it's hard. And that's why I always tell people to just appreciate it. Like, when you, like, don't poo-poo getting to the playoffs. Don't poo-poo we've only been to 1 Western Conference Finals. Like, you said I'm disappointed. I'm not disappointed in the Knicks season at all. It was great. I'm old enough to remember how sucking for 20 years could drag you down, and now Blazer fans that peaked with 9 straight playoff runs, or whatever it is, are realizing like, oh, that's way better than sucking, So I always tell people, appreciate what you can and enjoy it, and know you don't have to win everything to have fun with sports. That is the ultimate. Right. And that's really on the players to be able to, like Charles Barkley, I feel really bad. He didn't win a title. Reggie Miller, I don't feel bad about that at all.
No, of course not.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's their legacy as fans. It's like, yes, I just want to see 1, and you could be 50 and see it, or 10. So
right. All right. So, Thunder looked like a dynasty in the making.
Yep.
Way back, much lower in the West standings, are the Blazers, who had a good second half, made some moves, some inroads there. And now they have the number 11 pick in the upcoming draft on Wednesday. So first, let's dive into whom they might take. Well, actually, let's start with this. What should they do with this pick? Is there a player out there that you like a lot that you think they got to take that guy? Or are you with me in believing that this pick needs to be dealt? Because there's not one player they're going to get at 11 that should make their rotation if they're truly going to be above 500 and make a run at the postseason. There's no one. Every player there is either too young, 18, 19, give me a break, or they play good defensively, but they can't shoot, or they can shoot, but they suck on defense. They're just not going to crack the lineup. And we saw Shaden at 19. Shaden isn't in the rotation for a good team at 19. Scoot certainly wouldn't have been. Now, Klingon's interesting because he gives you something unique, right? 7-2 block shot. So I can see Klingon his rookie year getting some PT on a team that's trying to win. Not a ton, but some. But even then, he was out of shape. He didn't get a ton with this team until Ayton went out. So they're not going to get anyone at 11 who's going to make an impact next year. And I believe wholeheartedly that if they don't win next year with a new owner coming in, everyone could be gone overnight, just like that. Boom. So what do you think? Is there a guy you like that they have to take, or do you think they need to trade it?
So my thinking about this, the only guy that I would say I wouldn't trade it if the Ace Bailey thing is crazy. Like no one knows where he's going to go, right? It was consensus he was going to be 2 or 3 for forever, and then it was going to be 3. I just want to if he were to drop to 10, I would take him. Now I don't think he's gonna, but there's that chance, right?
He drops the Blazers at 11. At 11.
Yeah, if he were to drop
10.
Now the whole thing is like, well, why is he dropping? If it's a real reason, then okay. But if people are just trying, like, well, he didn't work out or whatever. I mean, because
there's no way he's fallen to 11. Zero chance.
I'm just saying, you look at some places, you got him as far as 7 or 8. You know what I mean? Like if you look at the mocks, I mean, right now in the the consensus, he's at like 6. So, and we still got a few days, got a few hours. But no, in general, to answer your question, there's nothing there that I wouldn't. Now, I don't think that pick itself, you're going to have to package stuff, but there's nobody I wouldn't trade on this basketball team right now to get better. Like we don't have on this team one guy that you're like, no way. Right? I mean, like, there's nothing. So
the closest
I would
for me would
anything
be
for
Shaden.
something.
The closest for me would be Shaden. But that's the closest.
Right.
And yes, I would deal him in the right situation.
Me,
I would have dealt him 2 years ago for Durant.
So
if that was a thing.
And mine would be Denny, and not because of the reasons why you're going to mock me. My reasons is because that contract is so great. You know what you're getting now with him. And you're not going to, and looking, of course, I'd trade him if it was a package for,
Devin
a star.
Right.
For Devin Booker. But that's not where no one's going to do that. But you might be able to get the upside with Shaden. So I hear what you're saying. But to me, the one guy that I would say I would be least likely to be traded to me would be Denny, just because I don't think anyone would value him the way that the value is for the Blazers with that contract and his ability and what he could do on both sides of the ball. But yeah, I would still trade him. I was saying, like, it's just a weird team to have where you're like, is Toumani Camara the only untouchable? Like, no, he's not untouchable. Like there's nobody. When Dame was on this team and they needed to, get somewhere, you weren't trading Damian Lillard after his rookie year. Like it was like, no, we're good. But before that, you weren't trading Brandon Roy and LaMarcus Aldridge. You know what I mean? Like you knew that those were two that you were not trading, even though it wasn't a playoff team yet. Now you're like, okay, you're going to give me Devin Booker? Who you want? There's not, but I don't see anyone doing that. So I think that the trades will be, if they do trade the pick, it'll be interesting For what? Because future assets, as you mentioned, don't help very much if you think you can get fired in a year.
No,
So,
it has to be for a player that you think can come in and help, and it's going to be in your rotation and help you win. So it's got to be like a repeat of the Denny trade, or we can go back in time to like the Buck Williams trade. Buck Williams was a 3-time All-Star with the Nets. You get him a little later in his career. He comes in, his scoring goes down because he's on a team with Clyde and Porter, and Duckworth is a good scorer, but he gives you the rebounding, the defense that you need, a leader, and becomes the anchor for your entire team. Like you can go get someone like that. That's huge. And I would give up the 11th pick for that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but the problem is that team was close.
Well, yeah, that team was close to a championship, but you're not making a trade necessarily to win a championship. You're making a trade to get into the postseason. And if the player's young enough still, he's going to be around as you continue to build.
That's what I was going to say.
Championship, just take championship. It drove me nuts when people were talking about, well, you're not going to win a championship if you get Siakam and put him with Dame. Okay, maybe you don't, but Siakam just went to the finals with Halliburton. And it's not just about going to the finals. Like you just said, you can have a good season, have fun without winning it all. It's about just getting better and becoming relevant. And they turned a corner in the second half going 23-18. And if a new owner is coming in, I just don't believe for a second that a new owner is going to look at the franchise and go, oh, this GM and this coach, we missed the playoffs 5 straight years, which was what it would be if you don't make the playoffs next, or at least the postseason next year, right? They last made it in 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5, that'd be 6. And you had 4 lottery picks, and you had 4 off seasons to make moves, and you traded one of the greatest players ever and didn't get enough back to help you get to the postseason. After that, like that's just going to look bad. There's just no way around it. And you can sit here and say, oh, they got this young player and that young player, and they're still blossoming, blah, blah, blah. Again, a new owner is going to be like, yeah, I'm good, and probably have someone in mind. And then they're going to have someone in mind for the next level job. And then they're going to have a coach in mind, and they're usually going to blow it up and start over. So that's what I'm saying. They need to replicate that Denny trade. Take Aiden's contract, take Grant's contract, take Simon's contract if you want to move on from him, one of them or both of them or whatever. Take this 11th pick, take the future swaps with the Bucks and that future swap with, or that future pick with the Bucks, and go out there and say, okay, who can I get? Because Shams has reported that he thinks the summer is going to be just as wild as the trade deadline. And the trade deadline, there are players flying all over the place. And so if you can jump in there and get somebody who can come here and help elevate your team, great. Then to me, you do it. Every team in the playoffs had an all-star except for Orlando, which their all-star.
We'll have one. Yeah.
Well, but he was an all-star last year, but he wasn't this year because he missed most of the first half of the season. So he is an all-star, Boncaro, right? So and then they got Wagner. They just added Bang. Like you can just see the good teams, and every team in the second round had at least 2 players who have at least been an all-star at some point in their career. Right, they might not have been an all-star this year, but they're all-star caliber. You have 0. You don't have a player who's on the cusp of becoming all-star. You don't have a player who's ever been an all-star. So you have to add some kind of veteran star power to this team. And to me, if I can get that and get rid of that pick, all day. Now people
agree.
will say, well, for who? Someone even asked me, who they're going to get. I don't know. I don't know who's available. I didn't know Denny was available.
We can throw out names.
Well, yeah, and I didn't know Denny was available until Denny was available.
Sure.
Right. So that's Joe's problem. Now, if Joe can't find anybody, if it's the 11th pick for, Jonathan Isaac from Orlando, no, I'm not doing that. He's got knee problems, right? If it's 11th pick for, Vucevic from my Bulls, no, because he's 34 years old and you don't really need a center. But if you can go out there and find someone who fits, boom, you got to do it. We in agreement?
I agree. I mean, I don't even, I think that anyone who's saying anything different is crazy. I mean, like, if you got to move off that Grant contract. You got to move off these contracts at some point. If you're going to move forward with the younger, if you truly believe you have the young players that have potential, then you got to move off some people.
Okay. Well, see, I'm going to push back on that a little bit because, again, if you can take Grant in the pick and bring someone in like Denny, boom, you do it, right? But I'm not moving those guys just to move their contracts anymore. If they give me the best chance to win. because again, you got to win. So if I'm saying, okay, yeah, Grant's contract sucks. Okay, but you know what? A forward trio of Grant, Denny, and Tumani is pretty damn good because all three play defense, and Grant will shoot better next year. This was a down season for him. We know he's a better offensive player than that, but he gave them defense. So if I got those three cats, and who knows, that might be your start. They could start Tumani at the 2. That could be your starting trio like they had at some point this season. So I'm not just giving Grant away. Ayton, the same thing. If I trade Ayton just to get rid of him, who are my centers? Klingon? Is Klingon going to get me 82 games at playoff caliber basketball? Do I know that? Or am I going to have to go out and find someone to replace Ayton? So I'm not just giving him away. And the same thing with Anfernee. Even if Scoot starts along with Shaden, well, then I got Anfernee coming off the bench for 32 minutes and giving me 20 points a game, which is going to help me win ball games. So I'm not giving away veteran contracts because I'm going to go with the youth guys for the future when I need to win today. And if those veteran guys are going to help me win more games, then I'm keeping them.
So I think it's totally different between Ayton and Grant. I agree with you on Ayton. I do not agree with you on Grant. I just see that there's too much that contract you got. If you could get it off your books and give you some flexibility, I understand what you're saying. And am I being down on Grant?
If you're getting a quality player back, I'm saying I'm not just getting rid of it to get rid of it because he can help me win games. I'm
just saying, like, if I could move it for picks, I just don't. Denny. I mean, I just don't see him as a quality sixth man. I just don't see that as a role, and I don't want to not play Tumani, Sharp, or Denny. I just don't want. I want to play him, and I know you're saying there's plenty of minutes, but
there's 96
I know,
minutes.
But at some point in time, if you're going to bring in, I just me, I was down on the contract from the get-go, and I thought it was a bad move. I also wasn't a big fan of the trade when they got him. Like,
okay, but
no, I know that. But what I'm saying is,
say you
I
move
don't
Grant.
think
who's your backup forward then? If you move Grant, if you just move him for whatever, who's your backup forward?
I'm not going to move him without having a backup. That's the whole point, is that you get somebody, and if not, that's what the draft is for.
I said if I can get someone usable for him, then I'm going to do that.
Yeah, but you said Denny. Denny to me is a starter now.
Okay, but not when they got him. When they got him, it was just some dude who had a good season on one of the worst teams in the league.
I believed.
Okay, I mean, come on. Let's not pretend.
I just have
you know what I'm saying.
A different thought.
When they got Denny, no one was going, "Oh my God, we got Denny Avdia." Oh my God, people were going, "What? Wait, they did what for who? What? What?" No. Come on. Okay, you maybe, but if he was so great, Washington wouldn't have done it.
Motives. Yeah.
If he was so great, he would have got a better contract from Washington. If he was so great, Washington wouldn't have done it. That's what I'm talking about. If you can find some guy like that and make a deft move, because he comes in and he gives you someone who can play. That's all I'm saying. But I'm not just going to move Grant because of his contract. You got to get off of it and youth move in. But that doesn't matter because if Grant's going to help me win, Grant's going to help me win right now because I'm trying to save my job because a new owner's coming. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but you know what would also help the new owner? To get rid of contracts that are weighing you down, and that will be one to get clear it.
But he's going to get rid of contracts and you if you're losing.
So close. We're so close to agreeing on that. So, but yes, look, there's nobody I wouldn't trade on this team. There's nobody untouchable. And anyone who says that somebody's untouchable, they see something I don't see.
Well, yeah, because untouchable means there's no one in the league. There's no one in the league you would trade them for. And so when I see people say, "Oh, Shaden and Scooter are untouchable," really? Are you serious? Are you serious? So if Boston said we'll give you Jaylen Brown and Porzingis, you wouldn't do it? Of course you would. So of course no one's untouchable, especially on this team. You don't have an all-star. Yeah,
right. So but I'm just saying, if we're going to go compare right there to the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, you could say, if you're a fan, untouchable. We're not trading Jaylen Brown. The Knicks,
even then, that's
Jalen
not true
Brunson.
because you trade him for Anthony Edwards in a heartbeat. You trade him for
But I'm just
so there's no untouchable is a weak word to use.
But what I'm saying is,
Luka wasn't untouchable.
Nobody on this team that SGA,
there's no one, not even close.
No, I'm not. No one I would even get mad about them trading, and say what are they thinking? So
unless
that's the weird part. But that doesn't mean right. But that's personal. That's not thinking the right way. Now that doesn't mean they're all garbage. We're not saying that. We're just saying that if you want to win, you don't have a person that you're revolving your team around. Like Jaylen Brown. If the Celtics traded Jaylen Brown, their offense would have to change. You know what I mean? Like, no, there's nobody on this team right now that you're like, oh, well, that would disrupt everything. They don't run the offense around anyone.
Right.
100%. So that's what I'm saying. The Knicks lose Brunson, they're going to have to change everything. You know, it's just like the Celtics have to change because they lost, one star, but they have the other one, right? And they know how to play with him. So that to me is what I'm saying. Like, there's nobody on this team that I wouldn't trade Klingon right now. In the sense, like, would I be looking to trade Klingon? No. But if I could get Devin Booker, I would trade anybody. You know what I mean? Like, in that sense. So it's just it's kind of a strange place to be in, where you could look at a lot of good players on this team with potential to be better, but we don't see any clear path to, that guy's going to be an all-star. And that's a guy you don't want to risk. You don't want to risk trading him because of what the potential is. There is potential for multiple guys on this team to maybe be all-star caliber, but you're not betting your house on any of them right now.
Right.
And if you are, you're a terrible gambler.
Well, I have a bunch of Shade and Sharp rookie cards, so I'm gambling a little bit on them.
You did, but you didn't bet the house.
I bought some Shade and stock. Okay, so let's say they keep the pick. I'm going to go through my latest mock draft roundup, which was several days ago. Things might have changed, but whatever. And then when I get to a player that you like, jump in. All right, CBS Sports, Kyle Boone. CBS Sports has like 6 mock drafts. It was so frustrating. Anyway, I'm going with Kyle Boone because he was different than some of the other ones. He has them taken 6'8" BYU point guard Igor Demin, 19 years old. I guess he's a Luka Magic type, but maybe not quite as good since he's going maybe 11th. What do you think of him?
Well, I like Denham. Great passer, bad shooter, tall.
It's Demin, right?
Josh Giddey like in my right now. Like, tall guy who can really, really pass, but very inconsistent shooting. But
27.3% on threes, yep.
I like the potential of what he might become. And he could play 3 positions on a team potentially, right? He could be the point guard if things work out perfect. He could be the 2. He could be the 3. He's tall enough to be a 4 at his size. So he's a guy that I've liked, but he seems to be falling, not rising, which is, not a sign that he should be super excited. Like, but I like him, and I watched him a little bit in college. But I don't know what this says about me. Probably that I wish I was taller. But I
wish I was taller.
Anytime
I wish I was a baller.
Yeah, people ask me what my walk-up song would be. I'm like, it's not like I say it so fast. I'm like, I wish I was a little bit taller. They're like, what? You didn't even think? I'm like, I've been thinking about this my whole life. Of course, I know what my walk-up song is. But so I like him.
Okay, so he to me is the kind of guy, like, if you're secure in your job and you're still developing and drafting for the future, he's interesting. He's intriguing. Right. Anyone 6'8" who plays the point guard is always going to be intriguing. But I put in my article, adding another project at point guard behind Scoot Henderson wouldn't seem wise in the short term. All right. Next person. Kasparas Jakusionis. I don't care if I said it correctly because I said it well. I said it well regardless. I sound like I knew what I was talking about. 6'6" point guard, 18. Huh?
You just answered that question because you just brought in another project at point guard.
Exactly. So now ESPN.com had the Blazers taking him. Their argument was kind of weak. Like, it almost read like, he can enhance the ball movement in the backcourt mix with these guys and could feasibly slide into multi-playmaker lineups, blah, 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 blah. No, he's not going to see the court next season. To me, it's the exact same situation as Demin, right? He shot 32% on threes, 44% from the field, though, 15.5 assists. Yep. Yeah, he's a young project. Not quite as tall. Still tall, though, 6'6". So to me, it's the exact same situation. He's not overly athletic. He could be a defensive liability. So yeah, it's like, if you take him, he's not going to help you next season. All right, so moving along. Bleacher Report, NBA.com Consensus, and USA Today all have the Blazers taking Carter Bryant, 6'8" forward from Arizona, 19.
That was my guy.
So I like him too for the upside because when I look at these young, long, rangy guys who reportedly this guy is willing to play defense, 6'8", he shot 37% as a freshman from 3-point range, which is nice to see a guy who, at least coming in with a confident stroke and some success at the college level doing that. He only averaged 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 19 minutes per game on a pretty good Arizona team. He's kind of maybe a Kamara 2.0. Team fit to me, tremendous upside. Could be worth stashing on the roster and playing 10 minutes per game as Kamara's backup. But again, does he help you win next year? Probably not, but he'd be a nice guy to stash. What do you think of him? If you had the luxury to do so. That was your pick.
Yeah, that was my guy. And that's, like I said, I want, long guys that worst case scenario, the floor is a really good defender. But, freshman year on a good Arizona team, he played 19 minutes a game, and people are talking about him being a potential top 10 pick. That means something to me. He was a 5-star recruit. He could score. He went to the McDonald's All-America game. He could score in high school, but, he rebounded at a ridiculous clip. He blocked shots, steals. To me, that's – if you're going to draft down here, that guy could play. And like you said, well, then if you trade Grant, who's going to play? That guy. And to me –
But you're not winning if he's playing a lot of minutes. I'm telling you that right now.
Not yet, right? But to me, that's the kind of guy that maybe you hit the lottery, and he could play offense too,
right?
And you have a Jaden Williams, you have a guy that you've picked there that's an all-star. Because I know I just look at the NBA now, and you tell me you got a guy 6'7", 215 that could really shoot and plays ridiculous defense 1 through 4. I'm like, sign me up for that with the hope. As opposed to a project point guard when I already got a few,
100%. Yeah, 100%. Because at the very least, go ahead.
That's the guy I would want. With because I would totally go with my thoughts over NBA scouts and people that have seen hundreds and hundreds of minutes of his tape. But that's why we do this.
I joked with a couple of people with the Blazers. I asked them who they liked. And then they both people in separate conversations said, I haven't taken a deep dive into this yet. This was during the combine. And I go, man, I watched 30 seconds of highlights on 10 guys and read a couple of articles. Here's my 2 picks. I don't know why you guys waste so much time on this. This is money. And
they miss it. Then the people that know everything get it wrong. So
it's impossible because it's just such a crapshoot, right? It's impossible to not get things wrong. So anyway, okay. Worst case scenario with Carter Bryant, and again, I don't think he helps you win, but if he was on your team and Chauncey can say, I can put him in and he's going to give me high energy, he's going to care about defense, he's long and athletic, has some good physical strength already, and if he's wide open beyond the arc, he could probably make it every once in a while, right? Then you see, and he can run the floor. So you see someone who you can put out there and maybe give them some minutes here and there. So I would rather go with that than a point guard who has to run and organize the team. That's where things fall apart really quickly for young players. So if I had to choose between the point guards we just mentioned or this kid, I'm taking this kid. Or even Asanul from Georgia. That guy's another high energy guy who can run the floor, will play defense right away. But like I said, neither one of these guys are going to help them win. But if I had to choose, those are my top 2 right now. All right. Let's go to the next one here. SB Nation. Jace Richardson, son of Jason Richardson. Yeah. Jason Richardson was 6'6", a high flyer. This kid's 6 foot, a combo guard, true point guard coming out of high school. Actually knows Chauncey from playing for his, I think, 8th grade team or something like that he has in Denver. The kid's from Denver. Then he moved to Miami and went to high school there. But a really good shooter, 41% from 3-point range. So that's nice. But dude, he's 6 foot. If they draft a 6 foot guard,
the one thing about him is he could shoot his butt off, right? But even Steph Curry is 6'2". You know what I mean? I
think he's listed 6'3", isn't he? But
yeah, but
he'd be a liability on defense. I just can't imagine it, especially now. Even if you moved Anfernee, okay, now you need a backup combo guard. Combo guard would be nice, but I don't want a 19-year-old. I think he's 19 or 20. I don't want a 19-year-old. I want to go out and find a veteran guard who can come off the bench, not this kid.
So let me be clear. we've said it both. You take the best player available, right? So if
whoever they think has the best upside, the best player, yes.
If you believe this guy, look, when you read about him, the thing is Steph Curry potential. You know what I mean? That's what the word is. That's why a 6'1", 178-pound freshman from Michigan State is being talked about being picked near the top 10, is because that's going to be your ceiling potential. But I mean, if you honestly believe that, go, because then you don't have to worry about Scoot, because you got Steph Curry too, right? But I don't, it's hard for me to buy that. And this is where it sucks when guys are one and done. You know what I mean? Like I watched Steph Curry as a freshman. He weighed 12 pounds and he was really, really good, but there's no way he would have been picked in the top 10 in the NBA draft. And by the time he was a junior, people were like, oh, okay, he's the real deal. Similar son of an NBA pro. But no, I'm with you. Like, I keep saying it's hard to fight the thing. Well, you already got Scoot, because you have to say, ignore all that. Doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter you have Scoot. What matters is, do you think this guy's going to be Steph Curry or close? And if you do, pick him. I know that, but I'm saying that's the only reason to pick him. You're not picking him because he's not a true point guard. He's only 6'1". He's not a defensive player, right? So there's only one reason to take a 6'1" combo guard, and that's if he's going to be a 25 points a game scorer.
Right.
And there aren't many of them, right?
Now, apparently point guard is his first position, but he was forced to play off ball for Michigan State a lot because they needed his scoring. So, and he said at the
can I just tell you this?
Go ahead.
If you were, technically Steph Curry did the same thing. He didn't play point guard at all in college because they had a real point guard who couldn't shoot, very good college point guard. But the whole thing is right? Like he shouldn't, then he's a point guard, but the scouts, when you read, they say not a true point guard, not because he didn't play the position. It's because this is what they do. They study tape and they don't think right now he is a true point guard, which in the NBA is fine. Lead guard is a position now. You know what I mean? Like there's lead guard. Anfernee Simons is not a true point guard.
No,
he's still 6'1", right?
So remember the third pick last year?
Yeah.
Out of Kentucky?
Go ahead.
Or sorry.
Shepherd, right?
Yeah, Shepherd, third pick.
He didn't play at all.
Third pick because of his shooting. Played 12 minutes per game, shot 35% from the field, and 34 on threes. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying these cats are not going to come in and help this team, and I'm not drafting a 6-foot combo guard who allegedly can shoot. No way in hell am I doing that. Allegedly. Especially if I know my job's on the line.
I hear you.
All right. Yahoo Sports, Liam McNeely, Connecticut, 6'7", small forward, another 19-year-old. My God, dude.
They don't want to stay unless they get the,
get some NIL and play your way. Like Carter Bryant could play his way into the top 5, bro, if he stayed. Anyway, dude. So everything on this kid was saying, sharpshooter, could stretch the floor, blah, blah, blah. He shot 38% from the field and 32% from three last year. Now he's supposed to be a better shooter. I get it. But again, I'm not drafting potential, man, at this pick. And there's so many better options than I think this guy, especially if his shooting is questionable and his athleticism is questionable. And they say he has a good defensive IQ, which helps him, compensate for not being an elite athlete, but whatever. There's no way I'm taking that kid. No offense to him. I'm just saying I'm not. The Ringer has the Blazers taking Donnie Wolf, Michigan forward, 6'10" forward, 49% from the field, shot 34% from the under arc, which is interesting given he's 6'10". Maybe there's some potential there. Started 37 games, transferred from Yale, averaged 13 and 10. Playmaking big, supposed to be a really good passer for a big. I guess that's kind of interesting. Put him alongside Klingon. You got a little mini Twin Towers thing going there. What do you think about him? Or do you have an opinion?
Yeah, look, once you get that tall and you have potential, it's easier to pick guys and go, oh, okay. But no, my other guy is Colin Murray Boyles, at that time level, just because for the same reasons why I would pick Bryant because 6'7", defensive player. If he can learn to shoot, like I feel like where you're at now, if you're gonna look for the all-star by hit, like when I say lottery, I mean getting lucky to get a guy out of the top 10. I'd rather it be on the offensive end that I need him to grow,
right,
rather than on the defensive end. And I want him to be at least 6'7". You know what I mean? Like in that regard. So, but look, you know, I'm down with Derek Queen. You know, if Derek Queen were to be there and available, I'm cool with picking a 6'10" guy who can really score and is gifted with the ball in his hands, right? Can pass, because that's where the NBA is going. Like if I'm going to take a risk, which you have to at this point, I'm going to go with the bigger guys who are showing me one thing that I can believe in. And it's hard to believe in 6'1" shooters because they're just so rare. But it's not so hard to believe in 6'10" guys who could score, bringing something to the table, and then maybe becoming Cat. You know what I mean? Like, and but the problem is Cat went 1, you know, or for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard. But if I'm going to roll the dice and say, gosh, I'd really love to get an all-star here, of course I would do that. But if my worst case scenario is having a 3-and-D starter, then I'm cool because I know I need that eventually. And also, you know what else I know? That'll get you something. I mean, how many trades are made for guys you're like, they got that for that? You're like, yeah, because they know what he can do. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a piece that wins you a title.
Agreed. All right.
And the last thing we do want to mention, you know, we saw one, you talked about the prediction that this is going to be a wild offseason. We just saw that it can't happen yet, but Kevin Durant just got traded. And he got traded for, I mean, I think the Rockets to me, that's a grand slam of a trade if you're the Rockets. You didn't trade anything. Oh, yeah. What are you giving up? You know what you can't do right now? You can't score. And now, guess what you can do? You can score.
They gave up 2 starters from a 52-win team. One's a young Jalen Green. I think they gave up and the 10th pick. I think they gave up I think it's a great deal for Phoenix. I think it's a win-win. Durant's about to turn 37. There's no good deals
for Phoenix for Kevin Durant because you couldn't come close to what you gave up for him. So, but Phoenix did what they had to do because you got to get off that contract and you got to get something.
He's only got 1 year left.
No, I know, but you can't just sit him on their team. So you got to get rid of him. Is what I'm saying. Like, you knew it was over, and you might as well, and that's another reason why it's harder. So I think they did fine. But if I'm the Rockets and I already have, I don't have to give up Amen Thompson in this deal. Look, Jalen Green scored a lot of points. He took a lot of shots to get those points. And you know who does that better than anyone we've ever seen? Kevin Durant. I mean, he's not the best offensive player of all time, but my man shoots the ball. If he plays 35 minutes, he gets 35 points. You know what I mean? Like, and he might shoot 12 for 36, you know, but I'm just saying that's a huge, and look, your window, if you're the Rockets, is now, you know, like, you can't wait in the modern NBA. You got to go. So I don't think they gave up much.
He's going to be 37.
He averaged 26 a game
on a bad team.
He's averaged 20.
Listen. I look at him and LeBron now as 2 guys who can still put up stats, right? But no one's afraid of them. No one's looking at, oh my God, how are we going to beat them in a series? No one, because they're too old, bro. Name teams that have been led to championships by 37, 38, 39-year-olds. Name them.
Well, the Lakers got led by LeBron James.
He was 35 to start that season. Name someone. I guess Duncan's last championship, I think he might have been 37 to start that season. But I mean, Kawhi was a Finals MVP. Yeah. But so it's my point is,
I think it's fair to say that Kevin Durant's
for a reason. Okay, and that's why the Suns didn't make the playoffs, right?
Kareem was 41.
Huh?
Kareem was 41 when he won, right? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? He was
his
old.
last title. Yeah, he wasn't 41. And he wasn't the number one option anymore.
No, well, I'm not saying he would be. No, I admit it's hard, but I think it's a good trade, personally.
Okay, so he started that season 40, the three-peat season, but he averaged 10 points a game that season. Hold on. Yeah, he averaged
you could say
14. He had 14 and 6 that season. He was not Kareem anymore.
But he was 40. He was 40. I was off by 1 year.
But he wasn't Kareem anymore. He was a role-playing center. Okay, so that's my point. So I don't think it's a lot to give up. I don't think it's a lot to give up to go for it. I think if you're going to roll the dice, go for it. But I do think that the Suns made a great deal. You're in a 10th pick and a good young guard who's still on the rise, and you got a legitimate starting forward in Brooks. I think that's a good quality effort for them. I give it up. I
don't think it's bad, but I would I'd rather play right now on that team. Dillon Brooks, very good defensive player. Offensively, he is what he is. He can shoot a little bit sometimes, but
we'll see if they win as many games. 52 is the number.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't matter how many you're in the regular season. It's how far you go when you're at that, that place. Okay. But look, I'm just saying you go. But that's done. We also know that Ant's not going to Orlando.
Oh, because Desmond Bane's going there instead. They can still pull off a deal. They can still make something happen.
I just, you can't play both those guys. They're too similar. And I'd rather have the one who plays really good D, and that's what they did. And that's a lot. That's a lot what they're doing there, but they're going for it. But I'm just saying, like, it's already started, with some of this action. And unfortunately, like, the first thing I did was like, did the Blazers get in on that? Like, did they get something? Could they help? Because that's the other thing. You just never know where the parts are. Because let's not forget, the Celtics won a championship with a point guard that was supposed to be technically got traded to the Blazers in Holiday, and I will say that that Rocket trade just kind of shows that you're saying, like, should they have done that? But you're also saying the Blazers should do it. Like, go for it. Like, you got to try. When you're there and they're trying. They couldn't win with their current roster. Jalen Green wasn't going to give them the offense they needed to take them over the top. Dillon Brooks, they already knew what they had with it. And Amon Thompson has really become that defensive. I mean, he's ridiculous. Let's be honest. Like, he's just so good that you're like, I think we got that part all right. And this gives and they got Sengun, who's just, that's a great pick. That's a great pickup to have him. Like, that's a guy that we didn't know was going to be that good. So, but that's what I hope. I hope the Blazers do something.
We'll see.
That makes you think.
I don't think they're going to be better. We'll see what happens with Houston. I'm not buying it. I hear what you're saying. I don't think they're going to be better.
I'm just saying, go for it.
That's fine.
I want to root for a team that goes for it.
That's fine.
And the West is really, really hard.
Yes.
And they now have
they're rolling the dice.
Scorer. They have a potent scorer that they didn't have before.
You're
Van
right.
Fleet and Sengun, that pick and roll works a whole lot better when Durant's in the corner. Okay. You can't say it doesn't.
We'll see. All right.
We got to go.
We done? All right, we're done. We will be back, though, after the draft at some point to discuss the Blazers trading the number 11 pick for a marquee superstar. Thanks for listening. Take care.